Morning, Santa Cruz. How you all doing today? Can I ask, how many of you actually live here in Santa Cruz County? Oh, most of you. That's awesome. I want to tell you something that just happened to me a couple days ago. I was speaking at a conference in San Francisco, and the gentleman who introduced me spends most of his time in Washington, D.C. And before I came up, he said, in Washington, we say all the time, if you want to know what's coming for this country, pay attention to what's going on in California. He said, but in San Francisco, in Sacramento, in the other centers of industry and excitement in California, they say, if you want to know what's coming for California, pay attention to Santa Cruz. I like that. You all get that, right? Whether we live here, work here, or just visit here, something we all share is an appreciation for the incredible natural beauty of this place. It's what drew so many of us here, right? The mountains, the redwoods, the hiking and biking trails, our incredible Monterey Bay. They're so wonderful. And of course, it makes us want to protect these incredible resources. And we've done so much. We had one of the first green belts in the entire country. We've got electric cars and electric buses. We have organic farms and food. We've gotten rid of plastic bags and styrofoam and plastic straws, and we've done so much more, but we're just getting started. And we know there are real problems in the world. We know there's a lot we have to do, and we're going to take that seriously. This is all a story you know. But what you may not know is the incredible effects that this small community is having, not just across California or even across this great country, but all around the world. And that's the story of hope that I want to share with you today. Oops, I'm sorry, I skipped a slide. You've all heard of the butterfly effect. This is a notion that comes from a branch of mathematics called chaos theory. And the idea is that the whole world is so complex and interconnected that something as small as the flapping of a butterfly's wing in the Amazon can create this cascade of ripple effects that rolls out and eventually can create a hurricane halfway around the world. That's a powerful notion. I like to put a local twist on it with one of our favorite local characters. Now, I call it the banana slug effect. So what am I talking about? Some of the things that I've shared with you, banning plastic bags, styrofoam, plastic straws, lots of the other things that we've done here, you may not be aware we were the first to do them. I actually have the opportunity often to speak to city councils in many other towns, to boards of supervisors in many other counties, and often I'm talking about cutting-edge ideas about protecting the environment. And there's one question they always ask first. Well, who else has done this, and how did it go there? And if you say, well, nobody's done this yet, we'd be the first, they say, yeah, thanks, they don't want to talk to you anymore. But it's not like that here. I work for Santa Cruz County, and my job is trying every day to make this county a little greener, to find more and better ways to protect our environment. And I report to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors. And when I go to them with a crazy new idea to protect our environment, and they ask, who's done this before? And I say, nobody, we'd be the first. They say, awesome, go for it. And I can't tell you how rewarding that is. It's an amazing place to work, and it's not just because of me or because of them, it's because of all of you. You expect that of us. You want us to do this work. You support it. And that's what makes it possible. And that's why we have this incredible effect. The local laws that I mentioned on plastic bags, styrofoam, plastic straws, many others, they are constantly being replicated in other cities, other counties, Even beyond California, laws that were written here in Santa Cruz have now been enacted in Seattle, in Boulder, in Miami, even in New York City. We're having a tremendous effect out there, and we're not done. And I want to share with you just a few examples of some of the problems that we're having an impact on around the world. Cold Stone Creamery is an ice cream store. Why is that important? Well, they served their ice cream in styrofoam bowls. When we passed our ordinance saying you can't use styrofoam anymore, most of the local businesses got on board pretty quickly. The change were another story. We talked to the local managers and they'd say, well, we'd like to help you, we get this, it makes sense, but we don't make these decisions. All our supplies come from a central warehouse in Milwaukee or Denver or Dallas, and we have nothing to say about it. You're gonna have to call the corporate office. Okay, I can do that. So we started calling the corporate offices. And to my surprise, the biggest nut to crack was this little ice cream chain, Cold Stone Creamery. They said, come on, we can't do something different for one little store in your town. It doesn't work with our economies of scale. We've got our logo on the cups. It doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, it's the law. You got to figure it out. So I'm going to save you all the back and forth. There were a lot of phone calls and emails. But finally, they called and said, okay, we're going to do it. And I say, great. So you're going to change out your Santa Cruz store? They said, no, that doesn't make any sense. We're going to change them all. 1,400 stores across the country gave up styrofoam because of you. Well done. Okay, I want to turn to another environmental problem that we've all heard about, electronic waste. You've all seen pictures like this and videos of people usually in poor countries melting down our old electronics so that they can recover a few cents worth of copper or lead. Often in the same wok they're going to cook their dinner in, and then washing it out in the same creek that they bathe in and drink from. That's crazy. We didn't want to be a part of that. But how does a little community like ours affect a giant global industry? We found a way. There's a nonprofit that calls themselves e-Stewards, and all they do is advocate for better electronic recycling. And for companies that do electronic recycling, they offer certification. They'll come and inspect your facilities. And if you're using all the proper health and safety procedures, if you don't export your e-waste abroad, and a number of other rules, they'll give you a certification that you're a good electronics recycler. We say, cool. We wrote a law, first of its kind anywhere. You cannot collect e-waste in this town unless you're an e-Steward certified recycler. Cool, right? Now we ran into a hitch. The largest electronics retailer in the United States are these guys, Best Buy. You've probably been in there, and you may have seen that right inside the front door, there are recycling bins. You can drop off your old phone, your chargers, your cables, whatever. They'll take care of it. But they were not e-Steward certified. And we told them, we got a new law, you got to catch up here. And they said, well, we don't make these decisions. So the story's starting to sound familiar, right? So we called the corporate office, and after a lot of back and forth, they said, all right. And they sent out a press release. We've decided to certify 1,150 stores across the country to get that guy off our backs. That was a good day. So I'm a little slow sometimes, but a light was starting to dawn, and I realized that there are places and times where even the little guy can have an enormous effect. So we started doing this strategically and intentionally, and I want to talk about another problem that you've all heard about, the opioid crisis. Well, what does that have to do with anything? We learned that one of the sources of a lot of the drugs that enter the black market that feed crime and addiction and overdoses are the leftover stuff in our bathrooms, in our medicine cabinets and drawers, because we've all done that. You get a prescription, you take some of it, you have some left over, you don't know what to do with it, so it just sits there. If you read the label, it says throw it away or flush it, but that can't be right. You don't want this in your water, right? So we thought, well, it comes from the pharmacy. Let's just tell the pharmacies they have to take it back. What could be more logical? And then we realized we have another similar problem. Needles, used needles. There are a lot of people that have to inject medicine every day. And there are people injecting other things. And they both end up with lots of needles, and they end up littering the ground. People get accidentally stuck. So we told the pharmacies, you're going to have to take those back too. And we wrote a law requiring that, first of its kind. But we did something unique. We didn't want to burden the little pharmacies, so we said, pharmaceutical industry, you're huge, you're wealthy, you're powerful, you're going to pay for this. Well, they didn't like that. So they took us to court, and we won. And they appealed, and we won again, and went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, sounds good to us. So now that's the law of the land. So you know about this program. You probably use it all the time. But thank you. What you probably don't know, this is the only place in the country it works this way. But that's about to change. The state of California thought, this is a great idea. Next year, it goes statewide. And we're doing this in every way possible. You know, the recycling world is in crisis. We're doing our part to fix that. There's so many materials that are hard to recycle. So we told our food service industry from now on, everything has to be recyclable or compostable. And again, we ran into a problem with the chains. These guys said, come on, we can't change everything for you. And we told them, think of this as an experiment. If this works here, you can do it other places. A few months ago, Starbucks sent out a press release announcing that based on a successful experiment in Santa Cruz County, they're rolling out more sustainable products to more than 28,000 stores around the world. That was a good day. Last one, because we're running out of time. You may have heard we passed a law locally that said hotels and motels, no more little bottles of shampoo and lotion. It's an incredible waste. We want them gone. They said, okay. And it saves them money. So now the chains have embraced that. Marriott, the world's largest hotel chain, just announced that they're replacing this in all 7,000 hotels around the world with refillable dispensers. So what's the takeaway here? You may be small. You may not be powerful. You may not be wealthy. But if you find those trigger points, those places of leverage, small efforts can make a huge difference. So my closing thought for you. The next time somebody says to you, Santa Cruz, that place is weird. Please do what I do. Just say thank you. Thank you very much.